Diddy forced me to make a sacrifice when I went to his birthday party. Since then, I stopped meeting Diddy. Diddy, Jay-Z, and Tyler Perry are all in this together, and they are the worst people.
From the same predator that me and that violated me as a man.
I would have been swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed?
Like this thing with Puff Daddy, there's going to be a big exposure. Christians have to get themselves ready. It's going to turn things inside out and upside down from what comes about from.
That's all. Everybody's getting heat. It's up for everybody with a name, a face, or a history. This is the year all unpolished public pictures start peeling back layer by layer until all that's left is controversy and screenshots. The internet, dude. The internet's gobbling this up like it's Thanksgiving leftovers. Diddy's turmoil alone has been a huge all-you-can-eat buffet. But exactly as guests thought they'd struck dessert. Bam! The chef dropped down a whole new entree, sizzling hot and right off the scandal grill. And what's that key ingredient? Bishop Jakes. Yep, the spiritual heavyweight. The guy has an entire worldwide crowd behind him. A giant in the religion game who's been speaking truth since cassette recordings and tube TVs. But out of the blue, he steps up on that platform and announces he's stepping down from heading the Potter's house. Just like that. No notice, no build-up, no goodbye tour. Simply, I'm out.
World-renowned Dallas pastor T.D. Jakes is named in a federal lawsuit against musician Sean Diddy.
And gosh, the blogs blew up in flames. Every gossip channel, religious Facebook group, and tea-sipping TikTok page began buzzing. Is it health? He got a book deal? He trying to go Hollywood? But Monique, yes, that Monique, she ain't sipping none of that Kool-Aid. She strolled in with a completely other mood. Said, forget the cute answers and PR packaging. Now, because the scandals got Diddy's fingerprints all over it, according to her, Jakes ain't simply going away for no vacation. She's thinking man might have been a bit too close to Puff's late-night antics, those after-hour kind actions that don't come with Bible scriptures or altar calls.
When you go to T.D. Jakes' church, and I watch you write a check for $1 million in front of the congregation, and you give it to this man, was that for the congregation to give more money, or was that really genuine?
And word on the street is, the ones up top at the Potter's house, the church overlords behind the scenes, knew that storm coming, saw the heat was increasing, and before the flames reached the seats, they made a call. Gave Jakes the subtle shove via soft step DIN, bone before it gets messy maneuver. That's what the rumors say. Damage control in real time. They didn't want the Potter's house moniker mingling with that Diddy scandal. But it didn't end there, since Monique believes she's had receipts. Not rumors, not feelings, receipts. She thinks she's got the type of evidence that'll tear the paint off those church walls. And she's claiming she's ready to dump them. No filters, no delay. So we're questioning, what's really going on behind these church curtains? Because when a guy that powerful goes away quietly, while the streets are talking and the feds are approaching Diddy's empire, you've got to wonder, is Jakes attempting to save his soul or simply escape a subpoena? This ain't no normal church tale anymore. This, the sort of drama that makes the devil take notes.
That's why T.D. Jakes was there. To try to fix his image. Ain't no money like church money. He was doing all the things to try to get his image straightened up.
I mean, it makes sense. And he also said in this lawsuit that when he was around Diddy, he seen Diddy give out guns, a lot of guns. And he said that the environment around Diddy was violent.
Well, I don't know. He also said Diddy distributed firearms and was selling drugs.
Part 2. The Fall of a Giant. Now hold up. We ain't talking about just any pastor stepping down. This ain't your neighborhood deacon taking a break from Sunday school. Nah, this is Bishop T.D. Jakes, the guy who's been holding down the mic for decades. A full cultural institution encased in a tailored suit supported by presidential handshakes, award show invitations, and sold-out stadiums. This man ain't just been in the pulpit. He's been in rooms where presidents communicate in whispers. George W. Bush, Barack Obama, he shared bread with them both. When legends passed, his was the voice selected to commemorate them. Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, yep, he stood at their funerals and gave remarks that shocked souls. So when that individual suddenly announces, "I'm done," it's greater than simply a retirement. That's not a move a guy like Jakes takes without pressure, without weight, without cause. And don't get it twisted, Bishop Jakes ain't no newbie in the celebrity game. Since the 90s, his teachings have been transmitted from TV to tablets, books on bestseller lists, films in cinemas, sermons viral before viral was even a term. Folks didn't simply call him a famous preacher. They treated him like a spiritual CEO. Respect didn't simply come from the saints in the pews. Nah, corporate moguls, celebrities, political animals, they all plugged in. But recently, something's been altering. That pristine image he carried like armor is beginning to crumble. Real delicate at first, small whispers, back-channel chatter, slight suggestions that the bishop might have been standing in areas he had no business in. But now the murmurs are loud, yelling, booming, and guess whose name is sitting right next to his in these rumors? Diddy. Yep, that Diddy. The same dude who's been trending for all the wrong reasons.
World-renowned Dallas pastor T.D. Jakes is named in a federal lawsuit against musician Sean Diddy Combs.
It's filed by a producer that worked with Combs. It discusses how the singer planned to leverage his relationship with the bishop to soften the impact on his public image of Casey Ventura's lawsuit. Ventura is a former girlfriend of Combs who filed her own lawsuit in November alleging abuse, violence, and sex trafficking.
Meanwhile, Combs' lawyer is criticizing the raids at two of the hip-hop mogul's homes in a federal sex trafficking investigation. He called them an unprecedented ambush. It comes as we're getting a new look inside Combs' L.A. house after the search by federal agents. Carter Evans has details about what the feds have uncovered so far.
Guns, cell phones, and other electronics are among the items taken from the homes of music mogul Sean Diddy Combs, according to a source familiar with the search warrant performed by federal agents at his properties in Los Angeles and Miami. TMZ says this video shows the aftermath of the raid inside Combs' LA mansion. Drawers empty, documents scattered, and safes opened and searched. Hours after the raid started, Combs was seen walking around the Miami Opa-locka airport, according to TMZ, which also obtained this video. Later, at the same airport, authorities arrested Combs' associate, Brendan Paul, and charged him with drug possession. In a civil suit filed against Combs by former music producer Rodney Jones, Paul was accused of being a drug and gun mule who allegedly aided Combs in sex trafficking. Yesterday, Diddy's lawyer called the law enforcement action nothing more than a witch hunt based on meritless accusations made in civil lawsuits. Could this federal investigation have come out of these private lawsuits?
Oh, absolutely. If it involves sex trafficking or drugs or weapons or other illegal behavior.
Lori Levinson is a former federal prosecutor.
They've decided this is worth a lot of resources across the country. So once they've done these searches, they have evidence to follow up on. And if they've got it, they'll move on it.
We still here, you're rocking with the best.
Even though Combs has not been publicly named as a target of the investigation, he says he's now prepared to fight to clear his name.
Headlines coming scorching as oil on a griddle. Allegations so crazy they sound like movie screenplays, and people started to put everything together. If Jakes and Diddy were in the same circles, what was actually going down? All them embraces and photographs, all them smiles at events. Suddenly them images gained a new tone. It ain't simply two successful black guys supporting each other. Now it's what was actually going behind the scenes. And exactly on schedule, Monique slipped into the chat like a wrecking ball. She ain't come with shade, she came with fire. Monique ain't the kind to whisper. She began flying with truth bombs, claiming this entire retirement move ain't about no health, ain't about no new goal. Nah, it's about running, escape, binge, trying to dip before it all blows out.
I was white gold. By some black Mr. Lee Daniels.
Remember when I said earlier, I've never seen so many cowards and black men in this business? I would have to put my brother Tyler Perry in that. What people are beginning to do is see you for who you are.
She's suggesting Jakes was caught sliding, got too friendly in Diddy's playground, took the invitations, ate the meal, clinked the drinks, and maybe, just maybe, crossed that threshold from spectator to participant. And now that the feds are knocking on Diddy's house, Jakes don't want to be home when they ring his bell.
Now, we also know that TD Jakes is allegedly also a power bottom. And he's a much older man. And they say he's very enthusiastic in his endeavors. What happens when he pops something loose? You know what I'm saying?
It's funny because they're mentioning workers, but they're not mentioning women. They're mentioning men as workers.
Yeah.
Like is that a thing where like there's a website of what? It's just wild to hear like you mentioned the
You
normal.
never heard of Grindr?
I personally have not. That is what.
Why don't nobody ever talk about the fact that TD Jakes has an account allegedly on Grindr?
Oh wow.
Grindr is a app. It's been around for about 15 years now. It's pretty much where you could put a GPS in it. So you go onto the app and it uses the location. And it routes you to the account of the man closest to you. And then y'all see him and you decide if you're going to do it at the 7-Eleven or do it at the gay club in the bathroom. It's a hookup site for promiscuous gay men.
Wow.
The Grindr.
Diddy's world ain't no tranquil refuge. It's smoke-filled chambers, shut doors, whispers of crazy deeds that don't belong anywhere near the term ministry. And when these headlines got poisonous, when the walls started closing in, Jakes didn't walk, he bolted. And Monique's theory, it don't end there. She claims Diddy's got a vault. Not simply a box of whispers and old text threads, an entire vault. Screenshots, videos, photographs, blackmail-level material. Evidence so outrageous it may flip the game if it ever touched the time frame. And if Diddy feels like he's been left hanging, like he's the only one taking the blame, yeah, he may just unlock that vault and push detonate. And you know what she says? She claims Jakes knows this. She claims he spotted the doomsday button flashing in the dark and stated, "Nah, I ain't gonna be here when he presses that." So he dived, quiet, calm, trying to keep the ministry afloat, praying that blast radius don't reach his name. But hey, the streets ain't dumb. That exit's too clean, too swift, too handy. And now people have questions, serious ones. Why now? Why so sudden? Why no huge goodbye or legacy tour? Why the quiet while the streets grow loud? Because if Diddy's got that dirt, then anybody who has walked in his circle, but particularly them church leaders, they feeling that heat.
I mean, with time, I could only imagine what the whole world would think. This is a disgusting country.
Part 3, the prayer and the powder keg. So check it. We previously witnessed the bishop make his getaway, graceful as a ghost. But what struck harder than the walk-off? The timing. The instant the guy declared, "I'm stepping down," the internet didn't simply blink. It erupted. It was like someone triggered a fire alarm in the midst of Sunday worship.
TD Jakes was hanging out at a rapper and f***ing party. What? That Puff Daddy held. He's sitting right there. Old TD Snakes. Amen. They there f***ing and everything. TD Snakes right there.
But for him to be at a Diddy party, I don't know. Like I feel the same way about that as I feel about when Tyler Perry came to his church and laid hands on him and he caught the Holy Spirit from Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is the bishop of what?
Everyone's standing around with eyes wide like, yo, did that just happen? Because this ain't simply a case of the pastor needs rest. Nah, this seems like a planned move, a chessboard sacrifice, a power piece detaching itself before the king falls down. And everybody online began connecting the dots. One tweet expressed it best. TD Jakes retires this week and Diddy's trial popping off next week. Bro, that ain't happenstance, it's choreography. You feel it? The way it all lines up too nicely. And believe the folks ain't blind, they sniffing smoke and following it right to the fire. Some others even offered crazy speculations, stating Bishop Jakes may not only be stepping aside, he could be packing up. Like passport ready, burner phone kind things. Dudes in the comments like, yo, he might bounce before the subpoenas start flying. Because let's keep it 100, when that courtroom drama gets nasty, the government don't care how many books you sold or how many individuals you baptized. If your name even whispers next to Diddy's in that federal paperwork, you're being called up, and nobody wants to be in that hot seat. So now we're looking at this guy, this public figure, this moral compass, and we're asking, how long can somebody live two lives? Because that's what people saying today, that Bishop Jakes was attempting to be two guys at the SA. Me time. One version on Sunday, clothes, texts, inspiration, the other stowed away in these Diddy chambers, maybe laughing at jokes that ain't so holy, standing next to kiddies who had more court dates than birthdays. For decades, his brand's been pristine, perfect. Churchgoers treated him like gospel king. He constructed his entire enterprise on that image. Polished shoes, polished lectures, polished sound bites. And when you build on that shine, the instant a smudge strikes the glass, everyone sees it. See, you can't teach about righteousness while hanging around where righteousness don't reside. You can't sell forgiveness while toying with the flames. Because ultimately, those two lives gonna clash. And when they do, bam, that mask don't slide, it shatters.
And I'm gonna lay my hands on you, Bishop. And he said, and then the is on the to that. He's doing all of this, right? And then there's a woman on the day.
You been to these parties, right?
Oh yeah, I was there when he was doing the white parties in the Hamptons and the whole 9 yards. So I know what goes on at the parties. If, they probably got a little bit more freakier, as time went on, because they got to the point whereas that they didn't even care. It used to be secretly, where people used to go to, separate rooms and different rooms, and they wasn't doing that out in the public, but now they don't care. Men kissing men and all this other stuff. That's just crazy.
And you know who says that's precisely what's going down? Monique. Yeah, she back in the pocket, signaling loud and clear this retirement ain't sacred, it's strategic. Saying Jakes noticed the storm on the horizon and sought to flee the rain. She claims he ain't trying to rescue lives no longer, he's trying to salvage his name. And in a world when receipts speak louder than sermons, you already know. The quiet says volumes. Now here's when it gets real. Monique believes Bishop Jakes didn't simply inadvertently find himself in Diddy's group. She claims he made movements, purposeful ones, accepted the invitations, lingering a bit too long in the VIP, maybe enjoyed a couple things he shouldn't have. And now that past is knocking on his shoulder like, remember me? And let's not forget that once the feds walk in, that entire attitude changes. It's not rumors anymore. It's paperwork, depositions, flash drives packed with receipts, screenshots don't lie, audio don't stutter. If Diddy actually had a vault, and Monique believes he did, then everybody who ever touched the man's orbit better start praying. And here's the punchline. She claims Jakes ain't just praying, he's sprinting, fast, trying to protect the ministry, yes, but maybe also trying to protect himself. Because once the vault opens, ain't no knowing who goes down with the ship. So the issue continues. Was this a preacher taking a bow or a guy escaping a bomb? One thing's for sure. This narrative ain't over. Not even close.
There will be a time. So you can stop dragging people and arguing with people and fighting and just log off. All you do is just hit the button. Right there.
Now let's break this down slow because this ain't no side storyline. This right here, this is the essence of the drama. We ain't simply talking about a preacher making a low-key departure. This ain't about some man of God taking a short sabbatical. Nah, this is a full-blown spiritual PR disaster wrapped up in Sunday clothes. Because the timing is suspect. The way he plummeted shortly before Diddy's legal tsunami reached the courtroom steps. It don't feel like retreat, it feels like escape. And then came the big twist. Something that lit the entire internet ablaze like Sunday morning chatter in the choir loft. Jake didn't go out with a bang. He walked away with a sermon, one that sounded more like a warning than a goodbye. And buried in that message was the sentence that had people stop the video and then press rewind. He answered, "If I did do something wrong, all I got to do is repent from the heart." The blood covers everything. I don't care what the sin is, the blood going cure it. But then he inserted that one line, that one additional phrase that altered the entire script. He answered, "But I ain't got to repent about this." And yeah, the quiet following that phrase was louder than anything he ever preached. Because instead of clearing his reputation, he offered individuals a conundrum, a sermon with smoke in it. The type that makes you squint and exclaim, "Hold up, wait, what did he truly mean?" That ain't how an innocent guy speaks. That's how a guy says when he's attempting to tidy up quietly, like he prepares the audience for something terrible. Like he knows what's floating out there in those Diddy seas, and he's hoping a little grace gonna salvage his legacy before the streets dig it all up. See, the thing with repentance, it ain't just about you, it's about what you confess. And Jake never once stated, "I ain't do nothing." He never issued that emphatic denial. "No, this is lies. No, I wasn't there. No, stop playing with my name." Instead, he leaned into forgiveness before the confession ever arrived. And believe me, it made a whole lot of individuals worried. You have church people gossiping in parking lots after service, deacons browsing through gossip sites they used to criticize, grandmas peeping at YouTube like, let me see what this Monique talking about. Because when you spend decades creating a reputation on virtue, the last thing you want to do is even seem guilty. Especially when your name's been dragged through the same muck as Diddy, a guy knee-deep in claims that make reality TV appear PG-rated. And here's where it gets crazier. People began pulling receipts, not hypotheses, not assumptions, by footage. A video appeared from Diddy's 53rd birthday celebration in LA, glitzed-out venue, A-list atmosphere, and who's going through the crowd with a grin like he home for Thanksgiving? Bishop T.D. Jakes. Yep. Caught on video at the same sort of gathering. Others claim he have no business being there. Cameras flashing, bottles bursting, Diddy holding court like a rap game emperor, and right there, smack in the center of it all, the man of the cloth. Now look, nobody's saying you can't show up, say what's up, then slide, but this ain't the type of gathering you wander into by mistake. And the vibes? They weren't holy, not even close to church. And after the footage hit the online, individuals didn't hold back. They began asking the fundamental questions. What's a man of God doing in the devil's playground? How many of these parties he been to? Was he there to preach or mingle? And if he was there to be a light in the darkness, why he's so silent now? See, once the people start questioning, it's hard to bring them back. Because this ain't about skipping a sermon. This is about ethics. This is about trust. This is about the divide between spiritual leadership and Hollywood stardom, and how blurred that barrier becomes when the lights are too bright. So now the world stares at Bishop Jakes with a side eye. The streets wondering whether the preacher we saw on Sunday was the full truth or just the public one.
People know how certain people act after one drink, 2 drinks. And if those girls was drinking out those bottles that he said Diddy laced, and he could show on camera, and he could show that some people had passed out or some people were acting a certain way after they had those drinks, he won his case on that one.
When you was around Diddy, was he doing drugs like pork?
Ain't no money like church money.
And Monique, she's standing 10 toes down screaming this ain't over, insisting she got more. And the folks, they watching, waiting, trying to figure out whether this church guy going escape the fallout or be the next name buried in the debris. Part 5. The Vault and the Exit Plan. All good, now are down in the rabbit hole. The party film done leaked. The sermon had some perplexed. The departure made folks suspicious. But let me tell you what truly lit the internet ablaze. It was that one term individuals were muttering in every area of the culture. Diddy's vault. Yeah, you heard correctly. Ain't no metaphor. Monique claimed this dude acquired a true vault. A digital labyrinth full with secrets, screenshots, voice recordings, party film. Maybe even the sort of videos that don't belong on no hard drive unless you attempting to bury somebody. She claimed it's everything in there. Locked and loaded. Names, faces, receipts. And not only on Diddy, we talking about anybody who ever stood next to him, lifted a glass, or was caught in the flash of these no-phone zone parties. That includes politicians, business people, rappers, singers, and certainly preachers. And according to Monique, Bishop Jakes knows that vault exists. Now, let it rest for a second, because when a guy as strong as Diddy begins feeling that courtroom heat, with the feds banging on doors and attorneys ringing at dawn, you must ask yourself, what's his play? Diddy ain't never been the go quietly kind. If he go down, you better think he takes people with him. And if the vault actually exists, it's a weapon. That's leverage. That's nuclear. Now image you a guy like Bishop Jakes. You had an entire ministry behind you, billions in spiritual capital, decades of trust from your people, and now you hear your name could be buried in one of these Diddy files. What you going do? You going wait until it spills, or you gonna step down, avoid the limelight, and hope to God, literally, that your portion of the tale never surfaces? Monique claimed that's precisely what he did. She said he received that call, and maybe not directly from Diddy, but via those same folks who hover between power and terror. She claimed they let him know his name's on the edge. Maybe in a discussion, maybe in a text, maybe standing too near to something too wild in a picture. Whatever it was enough to make a man of God flee. And as Jakes moved away, he didn't throw no shade. He didn't point no fingers. He didn't deny a darn thing either. Just packed his Bible, straightened his tie, and disappeared into the mist like a legend, departing the stage before the smoke alarms went off. And let's speak about that smoke, because the pressure on Diddy, it's at volcanic levels today. Lawsuits falling, witnesses turning, whistleblowers talking, and the further them feds dig, the more identity's gonna be exposed. Monique out here stating clear, if Diddy feels like the world turned on him, he ain't gonna sit back and weep. He's going bust that vault up and let it all fly. And that's what had everybody rocking. Not just church members, everybody. Executives, artists, influencers, politicians, everybody who has sat next to Diddy in a backroom booth or a dark SUV with tinted windows, they all sweating. But for Jakes, his spiritual detector went off. She claimed he didn't simply quit. He began working rapidly behind the scenes, tying up loose ends, maybe even making preparations to duck out the country before that trial day arrives and subpoenas start flying like confetti at a BET Awards after-party. You think that seems far-fetched? Not if you know how the game truly works. Because when reputations that enormous start to fall, it ain't just about faith. It's about damage management. It's about legacy preservation. It's about safeguarding the brand at any costs. And that's precisely what Bishop Jakes built, a brand. One of the largest in Black America, not simply a preacher, a media magnate, a motivational dynamo, a guy who made God popular. And when that type of empire feels the shake coming from a scandal, you become quiet, you move clever, and you get gone. The strange thing about all this ain't even what got stated, it's what didn't. Bishop Jakes had 1,000 opportunities to shut all this down cold. One statement, one video, one phrase declaring, I wasn't there, I don't move like that, leave my name out the drama. But what did we receive instead? A sermon on redemption, a message about blood-covering sins, a gentle retreat behind scripture. That's what got the streets murmuring and the saints side-eyeing. Because let's keep it real. When innocent individuals are accused, they bark back, loud, swift, clear. But Jakes, he just turned, talked about grace, talked about how the blood solves everything. And while they waited for that famous I didn't do it moment, it never arrived. And dude, in this new internet age, that quiet don't work no longer. That type of stillness gets translated pretty soon. People take what you don't say, remix it, and make it into a full story. And you better know that story caught fire. The individuals who formerly defended him, now they scrolling in doubt. The ones who used to exclaim, touch not my anointed, now asking, but why he ain't say nothing? And let's not forget, this ain't just one tabloid rumor drifting in the breeze. His name been floating around Diddy's cosmos for a minute. There's smoke, film, rumors, and now a swelling gathering of voices stating they seen something they wasn't meant to. Monique may be the loudest, but she ain't the only one. We had guys digging into old tapes, rewinding interviews, zooming in on event images like it's a police case. That 53rd birthday bash, that's hardly ancient history. That's a digital receipt and it's still circulating. Jakes beaming, dapping up stars, appearing real comfy in an environment where, let's be honest, holiness ain't exactly the dress code. And don't forget what Gene Deal stated, Diddy's ex-bodyguard, nor an online troll, nor a clout chaser, but a guy who was standing in the room, guarding the turmoil, experiencing it all firsthand. He stated Jakes wasn't simply visiting. He answered, "Nah, I saw him. I was there. This wasn't a mistake. He was in it." Now stop right there, because that's not just some TMZ headline. That's a clear declaration from the guy who held the door when secrets stepped through it. When Gene talks, you listen, because he ain't reporting from the outside. He, the security, the eyes and ears of the entire scene. He ain't talking like I heard. He spoke like I watched, and it affects everything. That's what broke the illusion for a lot of individuals. Because if a guy like Jakes truly was mixing it up in Diddy circles, not just for business, not just as a courtesy, but deep in the sauce, then what else been buried beneath that pulpit polish? What else been stored up under his deep preacher voice and million-dollar smile? Because when the layers start peeling back and they realize the picture they held up so high might have been manipulated, the fall strikes different. See, the culture don't just see Ansel no longer. It don't even expose the same manner. What we have now is a microscope and a megaphone, and Bishop Jakes, whether culpable or merely caught slipping, is sitting right beneath that glass. And what's wild, he still ain't saying nothing. That quiet is deafening, and it's shouting through every article, every podcast, every YouTube meltdown, because individuals don't wait for confirmation no longer. They make up their opinions based on what you don't say.
An internationally known preacher based here in Dallas this morning. During a 9 a.m. Sunday service, Bishop T.D. Jakes of the Potter's House suffered a health incident during a morning
video that's now gone viral. You can see Bishop Jakes finished his Sunday sermon and then got quiet, seemed to shake. The crowd reacting before several people rushed on stage.
I agree with you, man. That's crazy, man. But why haven't any of Diddy friends spoke up for him?
My man, listen here. All those ones who made it to the Diddy party, to the after party, and to the hotel lobby, they not gonna ruin their brand. They not gonna say nothing. Man, I was watching the other day. Listen to me. They did that, they on Channel 2 News here in New York. Gayle King and Nate and that other guy, they were talking about, they showed him beating Cassie, and they showed him the apology in the whole 9 yards. All they said is that we have commentary about that, but we gotta go to a commercial. They never came back and said nothing about it. I was like, yo, damn. He still got power like that? Somebody still like him like that? Because you know he was running with Oprah and them. He was running with that whole crew. Weinstein, Oprah, Epstein. He was running with that whole crew. They want to know how we're going to do it, how the public is going to take him. Is the public going to let him back in? And the public is not. The public is already canceling him. I don't believe the industry has canceled him yet. All those people who went to those Diddy parties, not one of them had came out and denounced what he has done. I haven't heard one of them. I have not heard one person denounce, well, man, let God handle it. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here with that. If that was your daughter, would you let God handle it? All those people, they ain't denounced him. They ain't definitely, they can't come forward and say, yo, I support him. Because it would mess up their brand. It would mess up their brand. Jay-Z. We the only one could call each other Sean. Jay is the only one could call me Sean. I'm the only one could call him Sean. Get the hell out of here. If that ain't no fun boy stuff. But you ain't had not one person, brother, not one person sit there denounce what he did, or come forward and say, I support him.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Nobody haven't came out to support him, man. Not one person outside of Stevie J.
Stevie don't count, bro.
And just now, Jakes' quiet seems a lot like strategy, not rescue. Part 7. The double life theory. Now let me tell you what's really messing with them. It ain't simply the thought that Bishop Jakes may have been caught slipping. It's the trend. The murmurs reaching long back. The vibes people sensed but never had the words for. The jigsaw pieces that never quite fit, until now. Because what's floating about heavy these days? That twin life hypothesis. See, when you spend years in the limelight wearing that cloth, preaching to countries, developing a billion-dollar business off your name alone, people start expecting one version of you. The righteous version, the pastor, the counselor, the guy who takes you through life's deepest valleys. But what if, and this is what people saying in them YouTube comment sections, them back-channel Discord discussions, them barbershop arguments, what if Bishop Jakes been living two lives? One in the pulpit and one in these penthouse parties? Now wait up, I ain't claiming that's fact, but the streets are. And when enough people repeat the same thing for long enough, it don't matter what's true. The picture begins evolving. They believe the Jakes we see on Sunday talking about God's purpose and living in faith, that's the carefully created brand. But behind private doors, in them Diddy places, them special chambers with no cameras, no phones, no restrictions, that they claim there's a different Jakes. A version that enjoys the benefits, the luxury, the access, the power. A version that might have felt he could dance in both worlds without being scorched. And here's the problem with double lives. They always catch up to you. Eventually, the mask slips, the time frames cross, someone speaks, somebody leaks, somebody you never imagined would speak out, drops a name in a deposition, and bang, your two lives smash into each other like a head-on collision. That's why Monique's thesis ain't simply some crazy rant anymore. It's beginning to make sense to folks. She claimed Jakes ain't simply stepping down to relax. She say he's moving away to dodge what's coming. She stated he attempting to control the picture before it is ruined, trying to go out the front door before he be pulled through the rear one. Now that's strategy. That's crisis control. That ain't retirement. That's evasion. And think about this. If Jakes truly was simply a visitor at one party, if he really had nothing to conceal, then this would have been a simple cleanup.